Hello, BookTube. Well, it's that time of year again when we are parted, but never parted, forever and always, touching and touched, where we are drawn together. I'm talking about BookTrek. BookTrek 2025 is launching in just a month. This is a BookTube event of some old standing now, where we read Star Trek fiction for the summer. June, July, and August. A very loose, very doable event. If you want to take part in BookTrek, you just have to read a Star Trek novel at some point during the summer, which seems natural. No one at BookTrek has been able to put exactly a finger on it. We all have different ideas about why it feels so natural to read Star Trek in the summer, but I don't know if all my co-hosts for BookTrek feel that same way, but I definitely do. I associate reading Star Trek with summer. Uh, so it's a joy for me to do. I save all my Star Trek rereading and the reading of new old stuff. I save it all for BookTrek. I don't do it the rest of the year. This event is launched by our dauntless captain Vin at Revenant Reads. We are launching the intrepid SS Revenant on BookTrek 2025, and our bridge crew are stalwart Star Trek fans. We have Michael K. Vaughn. We have Brandy at BookClectic. We have Randy Ray, the Literate Texan. We have yours truly. And we have Read by Fred. Plus Vin himself. And it's a wonderful group of people. Wonderful mixture of Star Trek experience and Star Trek lore. All sorts of Star Trek extras. I believe that I am the Star Trek fan of longest standing when it comes to the group. We have a lot of Next Generation fans. But Randy Ray goes back a long way with Star Trek, and Vin has actually met Captain Riker and got a nice quip from him, nice friendly quip from him. And so it's a nice blend of people who are really familiar with Star Trek and who really love it. And the parameters of BookTrek could not be simpler. Just that. Just read a Star Trek novel. It doesn't have to be a specific iteration of the franchise. It doesn't have to be a specific show or a specific umbrella of the show. Just any Star Trek that you want. In previous years, the event has gone on longer. 5 months, for instance, to cover all the Roddenberry era shows. But the summer feels right for BookTrek, and we are not specifying at all for the main mission of BookTrek 2025. So any Star Trek that you feel like reading, you go ahead and do it. You don't have to restrict yourself in June to the original series or in July to the Next Generation or whatnot. You can bounce all over. And as usual, there are also away missions. 2 away missions, optional away missions if you feel like maximizing your Star Trek fun. The first away mission is the hazardous one. It's the one that you should send your red shirts on, and that is to read nonfiction connected with Star Trek, probably in the form of star memoirs. Keep in mind, a Hollywood star is no more able to pen an incisive memoir on their own than is a Tribble. So you're reading pap that was flogged together by a Ventura Boulevard hack. And sometimes that can be good. I've read all the Star Trek actor memoirs. They're all terrible, and they definitely were not written by their stars, but they also aren't worth reading on their own. So I don't know what you would actually get out of that, but there are also books about Star Trek, and there always have been, starting a long time ago, half a century ago, with the world of Star Trek and also Star Trek Lives. So you could read or reread some of those. There have been all sorts of guides and breakdowns and satirical looks and the philosophy of Star Trek, the science of Star Trek, the physiology of Star Trek, all that sort of stuff. You could find one of those. That's definitely qualifies as the first away mission. And the second away mission is delightful. The Roddenberry era Star Trek, so the original series, The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Star Trek Enterprise, those 5 shows plus the animated series. The Roddenberry era Star Trek, if we loosely call that the Roddenberry era, even though he wasn't alive for half of it, that era had a vision. It had a dream. It's what attracted all of us to it in the first place. It had a dream that in the future, no matter how bad things look now, with a crook in the White House and a war in Vietnam, that things would get better. They'd get worse before they'd get better, but they would get better, and humanity would enter a golden age where science was respected, where life was better, where people were generally more idealistic, better. They were generally better people, not driven by greed, not driven by baser instincts, and that Starfleet represented the best of the best. I should just parenthetically point out that that is absolutely not true with the gigantic bank of Star Trek shows that have come after. There's a gigantic split. There's a Romulan neutral zone between the Roddenberry era and the Kurtzman era, the Alex Kurtzman era, with almost no exceptions. There are a couple of bright spots in Alex Kurtzman's desecration of the entire intellectual property of Star Trek. But for the most part, his vision of Star Trek is dystopia. It's the exact reverse of what Gene Roddenberry would have wanted or would have permitted. The exact reverse. In Alex Kurtzman's Star Trek, everyone is venal, everyone is nihilistic, everyone is driven by greed, everyone is wounded, everyone needs to apologize. In Alex Kurtzman's Star Trek, the Federation uses Starfleet to willingly enact genocide. And all sorts of other ancillary things like torture and mutilation. It's almost unrecognizable. There are bright spots where a certain show or a certain episode's runners, the writers and the show's director, just decide to ignore all that and do a classic Star Trek thing, but usually not. Usually not. We won't mention here the fact that in Gene Roddenberry's future is wonderful and pluralistic. Gene Roddenberry's vision, famously in the 1960s, had not only a Russian on the bridge of the flagship of the Federation, but also a woman and a black woman, an Asian man. Par for the course, you would think, but stunning at the time. That was his vision, a very inclusive, very wholesome, very uplifting vision. In Alex Kurtzman's future, as I think I probably don't even need to mention, with one or two exceptions, literally everyone is gay. And there's no discipline in Starfleet. Everyone just sasses back to everyone else. It's all very silly. Again, with a few bright spots. Fortunately, when it comes to BookTrek, the ethos of the whole event is reading, and there's been almost no prose generated by the Kurtzman Trek era. Almost none. And there's a good reason for that. And it's not just because nobody reads in the 21st century. It's because the showrunners for Kurtzman Trek, for New Trek, so-called New Trek, have been pitching all of their shows to an audience that doesn't exist. An audience that is virtue signaling and box ticking and whatnot. And that audience doesn't exist for Star Trek. Ordinary people are Star Trek's fans. Dreamers about the future, optimists about the human race are Star Trek's fans. So when any of those New Trek shows have been put in any kind of competition, open competition with anything else, they fail abysmally. Just abysmally. For the 2 weeks that Star Trek Discovery was in open competition with other shows, commercials for breath mints did better in the ratings than the show did. Because no one wants it. And the showrunners know that. Which is why they don't go to the bother of the ancillary expense of producing books. It's a tiny handful of books. Because they know that the audience that they are courting hates Star Trek and would certainly not read a book about any of this. They only want heads on the walls. Kirk as gay. That's all they care about. And the showrunners at least have the awareness to know that, so they don't bother to produce many books. But the older shows, the Roddenberry era, those 5 franchises, a mountain of books. A mountain. Take you 2 years to read them all. So you could get started. You could read any of those. Or if you wanted to be brave, you could try some of the New Trek books. I've read a couple of them. I haven't read them all. I don't think I'm going to bother for BookTrek 2025. I think I have other ideas in mind. But you could read one of them and see what you think of it. Or even watch one of the shows and see what you make of it. I don't object, for instance, to Star Trek Prodigy. I don't object to it at all. And I don't really even object to Star Trek Lower Decks. I object to the manic, ridiculous, Red Bull energy of the thing. But oddly, Star Trek Lower Decks is very respectful of canon. which absolutely cannot be said about Star Trek Discovery, for instance, or Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which actively hate canon. It's Star Trek Lower Decks it's remarkably respectful along those lines. So you could voyage into watching the shows, but in terms of books, well, the galaxy is open to you. There's a lot of reading to be done in those first 5 iterations. At one point in the glory days, when there were 3 Star Trek shows on TV at the same time, there were 4 Star Trek novels every month. It was a huge bounty. Now, a lot of those aren't good, but if your sweet tooth is to read Star Trek fiction, which is the whole point of BookTrek, well, then a lot of that is going to appeal to you, even if it's not technically all that good. I've talked about, I don't even know, in the years that BookTrek has been going on, I've talked about hundreds of Star Trek books in great length, in great detail. A couple of people have pointed out over the years that some of the videos that I've made on individual Star Trek novels are some of the only actual standalone book reviews I've ever done on this channel for anything. I didn't really think about it that way when I was doing it. I just wanted to sort of talk about Star Trek lore. But I guess it's true. And I may do the same thing. We're in early May, and BookTrek doesn't launch until the first day of June. So I don't actually know what I'm going to do. I haven't quite decided. I think I will probably make 10 times as many videos as my co-hosts. I know, I'm pretty sure that I'll do that. But I don't know about the theme. I don't know what theme I'll do. I've done that from time to time. I've had themes in various BookTreks. I have a faint idea. I have an idea that I might like to concentrate on Star Trek Voyager, which I love. I know that a lot of people don't. It has vigorous detractors, but I really love it. In pretty much all of its seasons and various moods and whatnot, there are a couple of things in it that I'm not a big fan of, but little things. For the most part, it has, I think, the most elegant premise and one of the strongest casts. So maybe I'll concentrate on that, read every Voyager novel that's ever been written, and maybe write one of my own. I have a Voyager plot in mind that I would very much like to write. Maybe I could do that all summer long. Just in addition to everything else that I'm doing, everything else that I'm writing, I could write a Voyager novel. I have an idea in mind that you would love. Oh my, you would love it. If I did that in installments, chapter by chapter, all summer long on my blog, that would be a lot of fun. I haven't done that so far on BookTrek. But anyway, regardless of what I do, you are wholeheartedly welcomed to join us for BookTrek. If you have loved Star Trek, but maybe you have fallen out with New Trek because there were literally no men, or because Star Trek Discovery was so incredibly annoying, just in every atom of its being. Maybe that you didn't like any of that, so you stopped watching Star Trek. Maybe you suspected very correctly that the whole franchise has been completely ideologically captured, so that it's being waved around as a trophy, but it's not being used as Star Trek. Maybe you hoped that would change. I guess since Star Trek is all about hope, maybe we can still hope that, but I don't hope it myself. I don't think it would have to belong to some other company, and that's not going to happen, I don't think, but it could. It's losing money hand over fist. So, but whether you are familiar with Star Trek and have not read a Star Trek novel in a long time, or maybe you're familiar with Star Trek and have never read a Star Trek novel, I have done a Star Trek fiction starter kit. You could look it up, get some suggestions. And I will be making suggestions throughout. I don't know what I'll do. I don't know that Voyager can sustain a whole summer. But maybe the first month. Who knows? Anyway, I just wanted to echo Vin's announcement video. I'll leave a link to his video down below, and hope that you all join us. It's a very easy BookTube event. I know that the summer is pretty heavy with BookTube events, including some major heavy-hitting events in June, July, and August. But one book over the whole summer added to that list, I don't think that'll kill you. So anyway, here's hoping you join us. BookTrek 2025. Oh my, it's been years. 5 years probably. But anyway, I'll wrap this up. I'll see you all then. Thank you, BookTube.